Hi guys, welcome back to Side Talk. Myself and Scott have returned. We've had a 6 week or so, a little mini break, but with Method to the Madness, we left it a couple extra weeks so we could cover AEW Revolution quite closer to the time, which is always a good thing. So yeah, first and foremost, Scott, my friend, how are you?
Excellent, very well, thank you very much. It's been a while, a little bit longer, but looking forward to discussing Revolution with you.
Yeah, man, it's been about 6 weeks, but Revolution was 3 days ago. So yeah, we'll just get stuck right into it. To be honest with you, so we're going to talk the main card match by match. The show was uneventful, really. The one thing I will say about the pre-show is, the whole show, basically, the whole effing show, is that the American daylight savings thing happened already. So the show started at midnight. The main card started at midnight as opposed to 1 a.m. So that
makes a lot of difference.
That caught me completely off guard. So just about got there in time. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, yes, first match on the card. Obviously, if you watched it, very obvious if you didn't watch it, was Hangman Adam Page versus MJF. Scott, want to take the reins on this one, bro? What do you think?
Yep. Yeah, it was a great way to kick off. I was surprised it was the first match on the card, but it was a real barn burner, a very tough, hard-hitting and funny. He just makes me laugh so much, MJF, with his asides and the way he works the crowd is absolutely fantastic. The twist at the beginning where he played the face Hangman theme and everyone bought it and was like, "Hey, he's turned into a good guy again." And then he's just meh, just that meh. It's such a classic middle finger, that tone of that song, everything about the presentation, the flag coming down. And they went on to have a fantastic match. The commentary lent heavy onto Hangman really wanting to finish him off with the buckshot area, and maybe that could be his undoing, kind of making us wonder, is he going to be blinded by his rage again? But in the end, he won out against MJF, got vengeance for Christopher Daniels. MJF fell nastily on his face. It really made me wince.
That was a cringer for sure.
It really was. But a really good way to start the show. Really enjoyed it. Two of my favorites. One of them, like when we think back a few weeks when MJF was calling out Jeff Jarrett and then I think Dustin Rhodes, and that was kind of something that didn't go anywhere. So I think maybe that they course corrected, but peppered in the kind of every time that those guys would be coming or leaving the ring, they would be face to face and realize that they were, both going for the same target, which is the championship, and that they would have to face each other eventually. So glad that it's moved on from like the kind of legend killer aspect of MJF's story, and he had a good feud with Hangman. The MJF did nothing wrong shirt, the why do they boo me when I do it but cheer you when you do it, when he totally lost his stuff with Hangman, and so why do they love you? Why do they? It was really good stuff and a great start, a very strong start to the show, and really enjoyed the match.
Yeah, it was good. Just rewind back to what you were saying about Jarrett and Dustin Rhodes. Just there, it was either they were going down this road and pivoted this way ultimately because it wasn't going very well, or it was really clever kind of like foreshadowing, because Jeff Jarrett called himself the Last Outlaw, and Dustin Rhodes called himself like something like an outlaw as well. I can't quite remember. But then the real outlaw is Hangman and always was. So that's possible. Anyway, it might just be me trying to find clues and stuff that aren't really there. But if it was, good stuff. But yeah, this match was tons of fun, as you'd expect it to be. Hangman is awesome, and I'm really, really enjoying this whole Hangman story. I really, really, I'm digging the fact that they chose MJF for what looks like the start of Hangman's redemption arc to AEW Originals. Been around. They've only ever wrestled once before. I think it's really, really, very good writing. But the tombstone on the chair, I just need to talk about that. Like, I've never seen that before. Wow. Wow.
that chair wasn't going anywhere, was it? It really held firm and made it look even more gnarly. The fact that it didn't crumple down or anything, that was pretty gnarly. And like you say, the fact that there were two of the originals, and we're gonna be having almost like a new beginning with Revolution, as the name kind of always is inferred. Things start again. It's kind of towards the beginning of the year. Storylines are being finished and new arcs are starting. So at the end of the match, when Hangman was looking back at the crowd, it wasn't with this kind of anger and fu kind of attitude. It was more kind of the scales are falling from his eyes, and he's beginning that kind of slow return back to the light. So lots of good stuff in there.
Yeah, there was a recurring theme on this show of the feuds kind of coming to an end. So lots of big feuds. Obviously, you had the cage match was the third in the show, the third in the series, and then you had the women's title match that was the Hollywood ending. That was the third and final. But I'm jumping ahead right now. Just it felt apropos to bring it up at this moment. But yeah, the next match on the card was Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe, which I thought was like, I've seen Momo matches before, including the last match that she and Mercedes had. She absolutely one of the stiffest wrestlers out there. She absolutely battered Mercedes. Like, there was a few near falls at the end where Mercedes very nearly didn't kick out, and I don't believe for a second that she was selling. I thought she was genuinely rocked because Momo had just hit 7 shades of crap out of her, to be honest with you. So yeah, I enjoyed it for that though. I thought it started quite clunky. They were trying to work each other out for the first couple of minutes, kind of thing. So a couple of moves didn't quite come off, but then after that, it was smooth. And yeah, Momo proceeded to bludgeon Mercedes duration, basically.
Yeah, she really did. They were telling a nice story of what they both learnt about each other from their last match together, which I really enjoyed. I think Momo, again, like you said, and the commentary were saying very much in the style of those early All Japan women's matches. I think it really like put her over as like a hard hitting, no nonsense. And she, like you say, kicked 7 bells out of Mercedes. She really did put her through the paces. But again, another good showing at a pay-per-view for Mercedes. I don't think it's going to move the dial. People that like her, and people that don't. But I think it is going the right way. And I think people that are maybe down on what she's doing are being just disingenuous because of it's obviously quite clear she's one of, if not the best female wrestler around today. The Rev Pro champion, Southside champion, coming to the UK soon. Be wrestling in Doncaster at the Dome. You'll be there. So, it's, she's got that ability to fight people from Stardom, which she quite clearly has a love for. So she's got a lot of love for wrestling at the moment. One strange thing is the whole way the Camille storyline kind of petered out with her quitting, and then throughout the show there were promos and mentions for the new Queen of the Ring film, which stars Camille quite heavily from what the promo stuff
really?
is led to believe, and she's kind of been left out in the cold from what I can see. They're talking to everyone but her. So whether she's going to come back or whether we all never see Camille again, who knows? But I know them. I think the consensus is the matches that she did have didn't work out as well as they would have liked. And now you have the signing of Megan Bain kind of filling that role of the new strong contender that's putting on great matches, and the women's roster are getting put on notice and are actually scared of facing their her as an opponent. So maybe she's going to take that spot. But getting back to the match, again, really enjoyed it. I love that kind of hard-hitting All Japan style, and I think it was kind of like a love letter to those matches. Last year, I watched a good documentary, a good drama on Netflix, The Queen of Villains, about Dump Matsumoto and all that kind of era stuff. And obviously, and it was a very well done, accurate depiction of that era. And when you see that kind of strong style, that old school kind of flavor, it really, I think, gave something different to what we've seen in AEW with Mercedes matches. And it was a good, solid second match, and yeah, held my interest. And yeah, good job overall. The outcome was probably never in doubt.
Yeah, not for a moment, but journey was entertaining. But yeah, do you think they're keeping the belt on Mercedes so she will hold the record for the longest reigning champion after Jade Cargill's exit?
I think that's what they've got. They keep saying the greatest TBS champion of all time.
Yeah,
they're really hammering that home, and I think she is who you want as your champion if you're trying to sell tickets for All In for a stadium show. If you want to sell 40,000 tickets, you need to now start looking who are your champions, who are going to be you're going to be able to put out on the press circuit doing, the local radio and television promotions. She's a recognized name. People who know her from WWE and other, previous works will want to come and see her wrestle. She'll, sell tickets. So I think you need big names on your champions going into All In, and I think she will be there, definitely.
It seems like they're going to be pairing her and Athena up eventually. Athena, of course, a Texas native.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I'm looking forward to out of that is having Athena on AEW television, because she's been on ROH now for 2 years.
Yeah.
Plus, and let's just be honest, not many people actually watch ROH because it's behind a paywall, it's not got a TV deal, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's too good to be exclusive to a brand that only a small percentage of people are actually watching. But that's no disrespect to the brand or to her title run. That's just how it is.
No.
Really
and it's interesting that Billy Starks has been put in the picture the last couple of weeks, and they were showing her watching the match, taking notes. So whether she will have the match against Mercedes, and then that will bring Athena out at some point to come and work to protect against like an attack, a former run out, and then that will lead into your match. I think that's a good pick for an all-in card. Mercedes versus Athena, definitely.
Yeah. So then moving on, we have Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet in a number one contender for the World Championship match. I enjoyed the heck out of this. It was really, really good. Two guys that just don't ever miss. They've got great chemistry. They've known each other for a long, long time. Heel Ricochet is an absolute joy to watch. really, really liking it. Every week's good. Even like the slightly awkward promos and stuff. It's good.
Yep.
Liking it. The whole thing's good.
Yep.
I loved the story with Nana leaving at the start, giving it the finger, and then turning it around and coming back out at the end and stuff like that. I always expected Swerve to win here, and that's exactly what happened. But very good match, very good journey. Yeah, very, very good indeed. Great outcome.
Yeah. Really enjoyed it. Like pretty much just to echo what you said, I think Ricochet's doing some great character work. That kind of it's the build for this match over the television has been very strong. When up until when Swerve brings his own scissors to the scissor fight, the Rock, the paper, the scissors, you can kind of also see why Ricochet lent into when the fans were booing him, but when he was getting toilet paper thrown at him and like you did this to me, you people kind of thing, and the whole bringing in of the robe. And does Prince Nana value that robe and the status of the past more than he does, still working with Swerve? If he doesn't see the Swerve of old, I think Swerve looked like an absolute beast coming out. The look he had, the way he had the hair and the spray on the ring gear, he looked every part like the champion. He looked like less of the friendlier Swerve we've seen. Like he's gotten serious again, and he's realized he's had to get serious if he's going to beat this guy and get the belt back. And I think the story about the AEW World Championship, I think the guys that are in the picture for chasing it are far more compelling week to week on the television as the actual storyline of the guy who is holding it. So you've got, the reason that MJF and Hangman had the opening match was that they both clashed because they both realized they're, climbing the ladder to get back to get that title shot. This match, the winner was going to get the title shot. I think the crowd were great in this. The Leslie Joseph, the comedian Leslie Joseph, was in the crowd. She's in Ghostbusters and other comedy movies, but the cameras loved her because she was really a big supporter of Swerve, screaming in for him. So she was going crazy, and Swerve in general is just so over. He's just so popular. I always kind of thought that that Nana was going to come back. I really didn't have any doubt in that, and that he was.
There was a moment there for me that I thought maybe Nana's going to join Ricochet.
Yeah, it could have worked.
I thought there'd been a really, really interesting direction to go, but with the story already being Swerve is after the world title, having that other story would have probably meant too much going on, kind of thing. But anyway, there was a bit of that. I wonder, kind of, when Nana left the arena and then came back. So
and it could have, if he'd seen Ricochet, be more dangerous than Swerve, and you get the robe, would his allegiance have switched? But I think the end where you have Swerve, be like bow down to Nana, give him the robe back, like I've done it for you, and then they hugged it out, and the strength, the friendship, the respect that is still there, and on to facing whoever was going to win, Moxley versus Edge. Sorry, Cope.
Yeah, we'll get on to that. As for Ricochet, I want him to wrestle Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship and win the title. That's what I want him to do next.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether he's in the is it the World Cup they're doing or something to that effect.
Yeah, I believe he is.
Dynamite to see who's going to wrestle Kenny at Dynasty.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm jumping ahead again. I'm just running
And
over my thoughts.
And I think they're kind of at the moment. I think for Dynasty, they're looking at putting maybe Adam Cole versus Garcia for the TNT, because they had some moments in their pre-show match where they were in the trios. It seems odd that they seem to have started off quite strong with Daniel Garcia as a solo, going on a solo TNT run, but he seems to just now be plonked in with FTR 2.0. They kind of stick him in the trios matches, and I don't know what's happened, but it's odd that a TNT title run is basically mostly, it seems to me anyway, I could be, look at the stats and be completely wrong on this, but it seems to be that most of the time he's with another tag team fighting in trios matches, which I don't know.
I don't want to say it makes him look weak being with Daddy Magic every week, but it makes him look weak because, But anyway, so moving on, we have Kazuchika Wada versus Brody King for the Continental Championship. I thought this was a great showing for Brody. A good nod. You're doing good work. I'm going to give you a match for a championship on the pay-per-view versus one of the best in the world. I never expected Okada to not win this match, but it was a good match. I enjoyed the journey. Okada's chest by the end of it, though, because Brody had just turned it into like minced meat. Absolutely hilarious.
He was, and I think his bicep and because his chest, it was just ripped to shreds, wasn't it?
Yeah. The one thing I thought about this match was that as good as the match itself was, post-match I was expecting something to happen, like music to happen. The next challenger for the Continental Championship kind of thing, or maybe like a debutant, or just someone. It felt like something should have been there, but nothing came. Like it could have been Speedball's rumored. Well, it's not rumored. It's coming up. He's got the vignette. I mean, Josh Alexander's rumored. I want to see Josh Alexander versus Okada so badly. Sign me up, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just nitpicking, but I felt like something should have happened post-match.
Yeah. It's a good, solid match. It's good to see, Brody King kind of go from strength to strength in these high-profile matches against, legends like Okada. Okada's always, really hilarious, as well as pulling out devastating moves. And he just plays the whole. He's really having fun, I think, with his character at the moment. I think what's going to come from this, I think also just to say, since Malachi/Aleister Black has left, I think those guys. I mean, they've always, the Brody versus Darby matches were great. The Andrade versus Buddy is one of my favorite Collision matches of all time. And then it just seemed to be they'd have to go back with the House of Black, and it didn't seem that, it is in the back of everyone's minds that this guy wants to leave. Or at least that's what the rumors were, which were constantly being denied the very next day when he was in his car saying how annoyed he was about the speculation, despite, doing things like sitting down in a ring and hugging Adam Cole like he was on his way out. So, but I think those guys, all three of those guys, and obviously don't forget, obviously Julia's very gone stratospheric since, being part of that team. It's a good time for it to end. And I think, Ospreay put it when he first came to the company, it was like, if you want to be here, then be here and do it for the company. We've said it on what we wanted to see AEW is concentrate on doing what they do best, which is, professional wrestling, having people that want to wrestle for an alternative to working in other companies. And if you don't want to be there, then yep, it's fine. The company will survive, move on, and go and work elsewhere, and prosper there. It's just one of those things. I think whereas when AEW was first starting up and things like Cody leaving stuff really kind of rocked the company. I think now I've kind of you kind of lose count who's come over that way. It's basically like the old days of half a dozen people leave and half a dozen people join, and you kind of, oh yeah, he was in that and he was in that, and it doesn't really matter much.
It's not
not important. But
people deserve to work regardless of company.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they've handled this particular, because sometimes someone will leave and it just won't get a mention. I think the way they kind of wound down Malachi Black as being integral to the success of the House of Black worked quite well. He left when he wanted to leave, and the guys that have left are now becoming bigger stars and seem a bit freer in doing what they want to do. Obviously, Brody, I think, is the hometown guy they were saying on commentary. He's from that neck of the woods, and so him versus Okada will be massive for him. And I think this probably will set up Okada to take on Omega at All In, and I think there might be a unification of the two belts.
Yeah, I mean, the unification sounds like it makes sense, but also I'm not opposed to seeing, hopefully, Kenny with two belts rather than the one.
Yeah.
Him up. But anyway, yeah, we're jumping ahead with Kenny talk just at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the next match on the card was the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners in the tag team title match. This match was just there, to be honest with you. It was fine. It was fine, but nothing.
I think it was placed well in the running order. You kind of needed a match which you knew the outcome of, and it was just going to be a nice, fun display of the showmanship of the Outrunners, putting on a good. I mean,
you son of a bitch!
Yeah. Just the minute their entrance goes to a 4:3 ratio, and the scan lines of the VHS, and the grainness of the footage and the theme tune, which is just awesome. And then you get like the Hurt Syndicate come out, and it's like, oops. Here come the Killers, and those guys are kind of I really like their presentation in that they're kind of like the modern day like Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, kind of like these guys are just going to drive through any challenges. I think it cuts in the presentation to Action Andretti and Leo Rush as potential next challengers, and it's just like those guys are going to get murdered as well. They're going to be dominant champions unless they pull out something crazy, but I don't think they will. I mean, these guys are massively popular at the moment. Everyone's loving. They fit in so well. I think it's like they've always been there.
The mood changes when they enter the arena. Like that's what it felt like to me watching their entrance at Revolution. It just felt like the vibes changed here. Business. I mean, obviously, without being too ironic or whatever. Business literally picked up kind of thing. But yeah, the match was entertaining. It had all the bells and whistles that you'd expect. But I think, like you said, this was a very well placed match because the following three matches were just incredible, to be honest with you. Just absolutely incredible. So anything else to add on the tag match before we move on?
No, I'm just thinking maybe, with the Bucks due a return, do you maybe think the biggest match you could book for All In? I know we're kind of jumping over Dynasty or Dynasty, and I got really confused because when I was looking at like buying the pay-per-view, it's like, oh, you can get it in a double pack with Dynasty, and I was like, but that was Christmas. because I was thinking of Wrestle Dynasty, or whatever they
Oh
called
yeah.
the match in Japan. I was like, oh, maybe they're just giving you an old one for cheaper, but I've already got it. And then in
Mm.
the pay-per-view, it's like, next month is done. I was like, completely. Never mind. But I
Yeah.
think that's like more of the B grade, isn't it, of
Yeah.
the pay-per-views. So I think the Bucks versus Hurt Syndicate All In, maybe.
I'm down for
People
that.
want to see that. People want to see that, I think.
Yeah, I'm down for that anytime. I think the right winners to beat the Hurt Syndicate down the line, depending on Buddy Matthews' injury, would be the Hounds of Hell,
Mm.
because that's just two men meaty slapping meat teeth doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard any dates on Matthews' ankle injury since Grand Slam in Brisbane. Hopefully, it's not like super serious, because
No.
that would suck. But anyway, let's get on to the first of the, let's call it the Holy Trinity of matches on this card. So it was the Hollywood ending. Timeless Tony Storm versus Mariah May in the women's championship. I don't even know where to start, dude. Do you want to take the reins on this one? Just
Yeah, I think.
Wow is all I'll say.
Yeah.
That's all
It's. I've seen people's reactions in the days after, and people are calling it the people's main event. This was the match probably more than any other that people wanted to see, and it delivered. And absolute spades. Everything was spot on. The blood, the craziness, the drama, the storytelling.
Kicked in the balls.
You know, it had the spot where they had the champagne buckets and rolled the glass like Van Damme style.
Hot shots, I thought.
Yeah.
It's the hands into caramel and then it's M&M's and peanuts. I immediately thought of hot shots.
Yeah. It was brutal. Again, the weeks leading up to it were really good. The interviews, the segments, the scripting. I think RJ City was involved. I'm not sure if he was involved with this match. It wouldn't surprise me if he was, but I've seen before he's been helping with the writing of that story, and I think it's just probably the best written story for. I think it's a 9-month feud, but they could, hopefully they will put that package together, and you can just release that on YouTube or on a disc, because it is, to use that term, cinema.
Yeah,
it really is.
The scene of them at the very end, after Tony had retained, flopped Mariah May's like lifeless corpse with the end in the background. It was just like, wow, proper cinema. That's Scorsese meme, but it was just a chef's kiss, like so well done.
Yeah, it's probably, when I rewatch it, probably the first. I'll probably go to that first. Just watch again, just because there's got to be stuff that you've missed, just because you're kind of so involved in watching and keeping like, where's this going to go? I think it could have gone either way, but I think what the choice was right, and it was time to end it on a high, leave them wanting more, as they say. And it's going to go down as one of. I know there's a contingent of fans that don't like the timeless gimmick. I've never understood that.
Those people have no joy in their lives.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely fantastic, and she does it so well. And when we think about along the journey, where back to when they were wrestling in Wembley last summer, and she Tony Storm, dazed and confused, left Wembley, and when came back as the rookie, to, the dirt sheets, hook, line, and sinker, buying that Tony Khan was burying her by putting her on Rampage against, I think, was it Harley Cameron, and then again Harley Cameron. I mean, again and again,
and then she was on Ring of Honor as well.
yeah. And again, like, the fact that they were poo-pooing she was up against Harley Cameron, who's now, one of the top names, has had some great matches, great character work, seems to be, able to do everything. And, one of QT's, being trained by QT Marshall, and is like massively popular as always, and seems to give it 100% and everything, she does. So maybe she'll be feuding with one of these guys in the next thing. It's just kind of, this was a great example of a long-term feud, great weekly television with when these guys have been involved. Everything's been well written. It's kind of been, it's been like must see what they're going to do. They beat 7 bells of crap out of each other with those belts and shoes and glass and everything like that. So it's been a fantastic story, and it's a great place to end it. And again, that theme of things coming to an end and new beginnings, and excited to see where they're both going to go after this.
Yeah, definitely. Whoever is going to be feuding respectively with these ladies next has a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
is what I'll say. But yeah, one of the finest women's feuds of all time, in my experience, definitely.
Yeah.
In my experience, without question. But yeah, I can't get out of my mind now the hot shots.
You have to go and watch it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me laugh every time. But anyway, so moving swiftly on before I get too stuck on the hot shots thing, we have Konosuke Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the International Championship. Kenny, be still my beating heart, Kenny Omega. I did not stop smiling this whole entire match. Like every time Kenny's on the screen since he's returned, like I'm just grinning from ear to ear. I love the man. I've missed him terribly. Pro wrestling missed him, and he is making up for lost time. It must be said, because this was another just clinic, wasn't it? Really, from two of the best on the planet, Omega's protege, Takeshita. It was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The attires were characters from a manga cartoon, which I thought was really cool. I've never heard of it. I don't vibe with. I don't do those manga stuff and anime and that. Not for me, but I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, great stuff. Yeah, Scott, tag in, please.
No,
I'm
great.
I'm just verbal diarrhea at this point.
Yeah, because people that have watched this show know that we love Takeshita. We're super happy that he's the champ. But I think we both had in the back of our minds he's dropping the belt to Kenny, because Kenny's got his underdog comeback story. And I'm not mad about it. Takeshita's, not going to be hurt by this. It's he's had a great run as champ, and who's to say he can't just go and pick up another belt to see where he goes next. His work with the Callis family has been great. Again, I wasn't 100% sold when he turned heel at first with Don Callis, but now I can't imagine him as a face right now. He's just so effortlessly good at it. It was a great piece of storytelling where they went back to see and Omega was like, yeah, when you beat me twice back then, that's when I was an EVP. Now, now you're fighting, Kenny the new Kenny, and coming back and I'm concentrating on my wrestling, no more distractions, and I'm going to get the job done. It's really interesting to see Kenny as kind of almost like a vulnerable underdog with the diverticulitis and the amount of surgery he had, and how close he came to for it being a fatal thing, and the commentary putting across how he has had this new chance and to get back, and like I say, he hasn't missed a beat, and he's really not hanging around. Everything he's done since he's been back has been really, really compelling. And again, hate to keep going on about it, but when you have a story which I don't think anyone is connecting with the World Championship belt, and you have the strength of everyone else and the stories and the journeys that they're on, it brings it more into stark contrast. Kenny coming back, and I think a clash with Okada in Texas is on the cards. Bring it on. It's going to be fantastic. The promos leading up to that promo battles are going to be absolutely amazing. The history it's steeped in, again, the history that Omega and Takeshita had at this match, and which the commentary did well to bring up. The video packages showing them as babies in DDT. I mean, Takeshita is almost unrecognizable, isn't he? When you see him like a scrawny kid compared to now, it's amazing how different
no
he
meat
looks.
on him whatsoever, is there?
No, it's such a transformation. But I think this is another thing that AEW have listened to criticisms of not having video packages explaining and expecting you to know everything. I think the video packages for all the matches really helped fleshed out the story and really did service to not only the weekly TV leading up to it, but also where these people have had their paths cross in the past prior to AEW in the world of wrestling. And I think that makes it just that bit more compelling. You could have watched this as your first pay-per-view, not knowing anything about AEW, and come out of that and you're an instant Kenny Omega fan, or you want to know more about Takeshita. But I think all their characters, and I was watching like Collision or Dynamite the other week, I was thinking now all the characters seem to be clicking, and and there's no kind of you sometimes you get someone coming to it was a match, and there was like Orange Cassidy was there, and and you knew what each person, how they were going to act when they were in the ring, and it was a mix of styles, but one guy wasn't trying to do the other guy's moves. Everyone was kind of there was like the confidence in their presentation and who they were, and I'm thinking they're becoming very well-rounded characters. The storytelling seems to have got its stuff together. The logic of the storytelling makes a lot more sense. And you're not kind of sitting there scratching your head going, why did he do that? No, it's all clicking. And again, when something's not clicking, which we'll get onto, it just makes it like that more jarring.
Yeah. And it's interesting that reports came out maybe a month or ago to say that Tony Khan's taken more of a backseat with creative. And it just seemed to be, if that is the case, things are going like very, very smoothly so far this year. Everything makes sense. There's loads of characters with lots of momentum, and fans are loving them and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that he was like the culprit or whatever for all those things not hitting, but it's just, I just found it really interesting that everything seems to be purring.
Yeah.
In that regard, with everything that you've just said, and those reports came out. I mean, the reports can largely be absolutely massive waste of time these days, depending on who you listen to and who you go to for those reports, news nuggets. But most of them are absolute jargon, so don't worry about it. Anyway,
yeah, I think maybe this is coming. He did make a lot of changes and a lot of hires, and a lot of people backstage, and obviously people have left, people have come back. QT's come back and things like that. And I think Danielson, behind the scenes, to what extent we don't know how much, but he did that conference and he was looking forward to come back for All In. I think the guys who are training them backstage, like Jerry Lynn and stuff like that, I think their message is getting through to character work and knowing your character, and rather than getting as many swantons or suiciders, which there seem one thing. If you look at AEW from 2019 to 2025, is like you don't see a group of guys waiting for someone to jump on top of them every other match like you always used to. And and I think less is more, and I think it's just like a natural confidence that comes with the product and knowing what it is. But yeah, I think the whole build to this show was great, and the whole show so far has been, for me, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, for sure. And that moves us on to the penultimate match of the evening. Will Ospreay, Cal Fletcher, 3, although it was kind of 4. But, they expect you to forget that. 3 since Fletcher's been a heel, and it was a cage match. Where do you even begin? It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Watching it like this.
Yeah, literally. The image of them both stood on opposite sides of the cage before the match began was just like, damn, that's so cool.
And they had the cameras and the production. And again, and that's another thing which has really improved recently of AEW, is that the wrestlers are finding their spots and it's not getting lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is really good. But like, where do you even begin with this match, man? It was just like, I really enjoyed but I'll go through the notes that I took down between, kind of quick notes and stuff. The intro Ospreay had before his music started, I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Mark Davis made an appearance, and I had a feeling maybe he was going to turn on the Don Callis family and maybe align himself with Ospreay. That didn't happen in the end, which I found slightly surprising, but hey, takes nothing away from the match whatsoever, to be honest with you. There was a couple of spots in this match that I noted down as well. The Oz cutter, like bouncing off the cage, and then the Spanish fly from the very top. Like, pro wrestlers, they're just insane people.
Yeah.
They have absolutely lost their mind.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. When I could see that coming together, I think I was just sitting there going, no. And if you watch it back, you will see like the shot of the crowd, and they're all like this, and then it happens, and then they're both okay, and then people can kind of like go, and there's this big, everyone was holding their breath. It's crazy. It's like a different kind of, people say, oh, people weren't popping, but you don't get everything. If you like, the good thing about Ospreay and Fletcher is they take you into that story, and you are going, you're going on that ride. It's like, you're so involved, and I was sitting there like this, like, no, don't. I know what they're going to do, but I thought someone's going to die. It was nuts. But those guys, obviously, they got so much trust, and they can work together so well.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal showing from the pair of them.
Yeah, and old smarmy Mr. Callis, I got the Aussie Open back together again. And I was just like, you piece of work.
Yeah. The very end of this match, where Fletcher's just screaming, "I hate you," and then he gets the hidden blade. It was just, again, cinema.
It was so good, though. It was so good. Like again, it's kind of almost touching on the MJF. Well, it wasn't, but it's different enough that it didn't seem to be like a repeat. MJF is like, what he's his thing is MJF is insecure. They mentioned this as well. His insecurity that he says he hates the fans, but he just wants the love of the fans. And Fletcher is almost kind of like, I don't give in this moment. I'm locked in on Osprey, and I hate you, and I'm going to finish you. You're nothing like me. I'm going to, it's time for you to be in my shadow. The interesting things he's doing with Mark Davis, in that, like, I'm number one now, and like I think commentary touched on it, saying, well, Mark Davis was kind of the leader of Aussie Open, and Fletcher was like more the junior member, and now the roles have changed. So it was, I just, I think Mark Davis doing the kind of sad bloodhound, that hangdog look he's got with the moustache drooping down in the money, and he looks so miserable.
Yeah.
But whether they're gonna has Callis got something on him? Is it? Are we going to see Aussie Open in a few? Maybe against the Hurt Syndicate. It's interesting, and it gives somewhere some beats for the story to go now that Fletcher Osprey's done for the time being. But they can go back to that at any time, and people will want to see it. But this was a fantastic steel cage match. I liked at the beginning when Osprey was like a caged bird, almost like they kept saying he's trying to take flight, but he's getting clipped. He keeps catching his heels and he had to adapt.
His moveset wasn't working, because of the cage, and that. I thought it was a nice touch.
Yeah, brilliant. And like, how many years have we been watching steel cage matches, and for them to bring something new, compelling was brilliant. And also, props again to Mark Davis for being able to cut a chain to a steel cage and it work. I always get my heart in my mouth when you see a wrestler with a key trying to undo a lock or bolt cutters that don't work. This went off without a hitch, and I was just like, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, it was always a bit awkward. But yeah, absolutely unbelievable showing from the pair of them.
And like you said, we've had 3 possible match of the year contenders back to back on the pay-per-view, which amazing.
But moving on to the main event, the opinion differs, shall we say. First and foremost, because of the previous 3 matches. Well, let's just say it's John Mox. This was the world title match of John Moxley versus Cope. I would say that the crowd was really quiet.
Probably knackered.
Probably burnt out from previous 3 matches, but you could also say people just aren't asked about this whole Death Riders thing.
Yeah.
And maybe the lack of noise was either one of those 2 things, or maybe even both. Cope came out wearing Seattle Seahawks colours, which instantly got me like, no way. Danielson, it's happening.
Yeah.
And then that never happened. It just felt weird. Really weird. Like, why would Cope be wearing Seahawks colours when he's Canadian? He's got his, I'm assuming, his own Canadian team that he supports. I don't know. It just felt a bit strange.
Yeah.
But there was so much in this match just like missing. Obviously, the whole story, the whole feud, it's just weird, and it just felt it's really, really flat. People use the word stale an awful lot, but it's just completely uninteresting, and I was curious to see what would happen, who would come back at the end of the match. So I was still kind of excited for it, but not for the actual match itself, just what's going to happen with Christian. Oh wow, Cope's wearing sea colours. Danielson, that surely means Danielson, what's going to happen? And then Swerve was number 1 contender and all that kind of stuff. It was all really weird. Like, they could have gone easily with Cope beat Mox, Christian cashes in, Christian beats Cope. Done.
Yeah.
Or, Mox beats Cope, Danielson's music hits, and then Danielson and Mox battle off into around the arena.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
strange.
I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
going to
like,
pass the reins over to you, do you, please?
yeah, because like for me personally, I don't know what it was. It's kind of like a Pavlovian response. When the match started, I just picked up my phone and I was like, and I was just like, oh, I'll I'll look up when it picks up, kind of thing. And I was like,
Mhm.
no, I better watch it. And I sat and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty dry stuff. It was off. I think, I mean, I've read since that there were planned run-ins that didn't materialize, whether
Yeah, I saw that.
Danielson was meant to be there, and they decided not to last minute. Um,
Wonder
you
why
know,
though? 'Cause that would have
yeah.
been an
I mean,
insanely good
yeah.
end
I
to
mean,
a pretty
if
shit
we
match.
yeah, if we're fantasy booking this, like, how about, it ends with that, like, one of them's knocked out, say like Edge is knocked out, Cope's knocked out, uh, or Moxie's got him in a submission, and then for whatever reason, Christian takes the ref out, and Danielson comes and puts the bag over Moxie's head, you know, and then flips him over. Ref comes back. 1, 2, 3. Danielson's cost Moxley the title. I think whenever you I think it's Cope coming into it has made it more interesting than it's been, and it's kind of it seemed to be like it was coming together with him getting rid of Claudio and and Pac and
Mm.
Shafir, and then doing you know the unexpected respect to Wheeler. But by this time, we all know that the Wheeler character is a little shit that's going to,
Yeah,
double cross and just bend the knee to Moxley. So when he came to the ring, it's like, oh, here we go. I think they kind of just wanted to finish the Christian cash in storyline because that's been going on
yeah.
for a while now. Um, at
Plans have
one point,
moved on. It seems.
yeah, at one point, I did think that maybe when Mox was trying to get Christian to submit, but he had his hand out on Cope.
Mm.
That maybe the way it was going to go was Christian gets the 3 count on Cope. The ref spots that Moxley is so, I'm gonna rip your head off, like, blood
Mm.
red. He doesn't realize. He then gets, chokes out Christian. So Christian's gone. He thinks he's won,
Right.
but he hasn't.
Mm.
It would. I mean, just the way it finished was just there. And then it didn't really get interesting again until Swerve did that crazy foot stomp off from the crowd, and
Yeah,
then we're
pretty much.
like, yeah. And then I think everyone watching it was kind of like, well, that was, everything up to that was 10 out of 10. This last match kind of dropped the ball, unfortunately. And then I think pretty much everyone that's interested in watching AEW is now, please put the belt on Swerve at Dynasty and let's just finish this goddamn storyline because it,
Yeah, it's so boring.
it's not firing. It's not, and it kind of, in a weird way, it did flash through my mind. It's kind of like when people used to mention the Codyverse or Cody Island, and it seemed to be a storyline with wrestlers that existed separately from the rest of the programming, because really, you know, John Moxley's the guy that took Rampage off the air.
Yeah.
His thing was like, oh, I'm going to change this company, but it kind of like it seems to be like gone from that to be like, oh, I'm a paranoid guy with a suitcase and some here are my friends that make sure that all my matches end up in screwy finishes or irritating finishes, and everyone's going to start saying bullshit. And it doesn't seem whatever the initial plan was and whatever they've had to pivot to, you just, they've done. We've mentioned it several times on this show that they've spotted what's working or not working and adjusted. So whether they had longer term plans for this kind of reign of terror of Moxley, but I just, yeah,
Yeah. Seems
it's
like there was a plan, but then I still think that the plan originally was Shane McMahon or somebody was going to be revealed as, the leader.
Yeah.
The brains behind the outfit, or whatever you want to call it, but that never happened, and it kind of just left the Death Riders treading water, trying to find direction again. Now, I still think that there's been when the Bucks left AEW, was it October, November time? Mm-hmm. They were shredding paperwork and shit, weren't they?
Yeah.
I wondered whether, because the Bucks were giving it a big FU to Tony Khan, Jack Perry had knocked him out and all that kind of stuff, that kind of fizzled away. I wonder if, and then the Death Riders came along, I do wonder if Bucks hired the Death Riders to do their bidding, but then the Death Riders became too powerful. Mm-hmm. So then the Bucks shit their pants and got the hell out of there. I'm just trying to put pieces together. And then there was Mox saying to Jack Perry, "You're a sweet kid."
Yeah.
So I do wonder if there's going to be some kind of Jack Perry switcheroo maybe at some point. I don't know. I'm just
and then we got that. I think was it a tweet or a social media post for Eddie Kingston saying, "Shake my head. I'm not sure what AEW stands for anymore." The way I took that was kind of like he's setting up his return and kind of blurring the lines. He's seeing what his friend John's doing on TV and he's like, I don't even know what this is about anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen other things saying he's generally considering retirement. I hope that's not true because, we all would love to see him back. But I think if you're looking at people that aren't around at the moment, like Kingston, Danielson, these are the people that have got genuine. It would not necessarily to take the title back from Moxley, but somehow be instrumental in his downfall.
Yeah, they've got close ties to Moxley.
Yeah, and it would actually give this story some kind of soul and a bit of heart to it. He's 100%. Danielson out for revenge, and Kingston's like, I've been out and injured, and look what you've become. And I think they could really inject this with some intrigue. And I don't think Mox dropping the belt to Swerve at Dynasty would get in the way of them actually telling that story post Moxley not having his suitcase. And the fact is that the three guys are the trios champs, and it's kind of killed the trios thing. You kind of get trios like the Undisputed and Kingdom, and and they're kind of staring at the Ops, and they're all kind of staring at each other. And then I think, oh, who are the champs? Oh yeah, because they don't wrestle as a trios team, and
yeah. At this point, just put the titles on the Ops.
Yeah.
And just, it's all a big, convoluted, confusing mess.
Yeah. Hopefully that will be maybe a match for All In, because I think that would be a big.
Daniels.
I think if you're looking at selling tickets for Texas, Samoa Joe on the card in a high profile match, the Ops getting the belts off of the Death Riders, and maybe we're just going to have to be patient, and maybe All In is going to be the fall of the Death Riders. But I kind of think if you've still got Moxley as the champ, people are just going to be like, maybe a bit over it. Like I say, if it really is he could lose the belt to Swerve, and then Danielson could come back to fight Moxley in a revenge scenario. It doesn't need a belt. That feud does not need a belt. It's deeper than that, isn't it? And the whole thing about Moxley having the title in the case is, you don't need to see the belt. This is what I represent. And I think the fans need this catharsis of seeing this Moxley, this generation of Mox kind of done with, and then have some time off, and then come back in a few months after and start again, because it's got intriguing aspects to it, but I think overall it's not really clicking with the fans, and I think that was really brought into focus in this match, unfortunately, which is a real shame.
Yeah. Admittedly, I've not been a very big Moxley fan for quite some time. Just a bit bored, I guess. I don't know. The heel turn was something, but it's just kind of withered into nothingness. So overall, an absolutely phenomenal showcase of professional wrestling in front of, I think, was it 12 or 13,000 people? That arena looked fucking absolutely fantastic.
Looked great, yeah.
Yeah, it looked really, really good. Unfortunately, my the live Triller feed at the very start of the show was like glitching out, and it was being all weird and stuff. So hopefully it's not been that way for people watching after the case. And before we start wrapping up, I just want to give a little nod to how lucky we all are still to have Jim Ross come out and call select matches. That guy just immediately, hearing his voice just immediately makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm reading one of his books currently, and what a legend. He's been around for 50, 60 years. He's seen it all. He's met and worked with so many of the old school wrestlers. He's literally seen everybody. He's signed everybody. He's one of the biggest legends of pro wrestling, and to have his presence still felt at this point means a lot to me, because I absolutely love the fella, and it just immediately raises the importance feel to whatever match he's calling, because he only does select few matches nowadays. So big shout out to good old JR for being an absolute legend. And I think we've absolutely nailed everything we had written down. So we'll start wrapping up now. People at home, if you're watching or listening, thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. What did you think of AEW Revolution? Please let us know in the comments, whether it be Instagram, on YouTube, whatever you want. Give us a comment, give us a response. And do you like what we do here on Side Talk? Let us know that, but please be gentle. Please be gentle. But So Scott, socials, where can we find you, my man?
Yep. If you head to Instagram and go to Scenes of Graphite Horror, and you'll see all my wrestling art on there.
Yeah, which includes the artwork on the episode artwork. It's Scott's artwork that I've bastardized into something that tells you what
it looks good, man. It looks good. I was busily trying to finish it before because I drew it and it didn't look right, so I had to start again. But I really wanted to get that done, and just when you think, it'd be good to draw the pull apart, and then you think, well, I have to draw about 20 pairs of hands now. And then you're like, look better in my head than
Very nicely done, anyway, my man.
Thanks, man.
Although a request, I want to see your interpretation of Fletcher and Ospreay stood apart from each other on top of the age. You take the request, apparently.
Two little stick guys, and then the cage, because the scale of that shot was fantastic.
Yeah, pretty much. As for myself, you can find me at Metal X Wrestling on Instagram. So if you like music and wrestling, I am over there talking about it all day, basically. And also, we are part of Work the Left Side. So come over to our Instagram and YouTube and Blue Sky and X and Threads and whatever else is Facebook's all out there, and that is at WTLS316. I believe the X is at WTLS420. Just search Joe at the left side, and I'm sure you will find us. But yeah, for now, we will see you in a few weeks, where I think we will be discussing All Elite Wrestling Dynasty. Until then, thank you, take care, and peace.